Hey guys, what's poppin', baby? No, I'm kidding. That was lame. Um, Today we're going to be talking about Ruby methods, and I'm sorry if I'm sweating. Okay, I came straight from working out. This is usually when I like to shoot shoot these kinds of videos. What exactly is a method? A Ruby method is a block of organized reusable code that can be used to perform a single action. Sometimes multiple actions, but it's better to give each function a separate action. This is something called separation of concerns, and it's more of like an advanced skill in programming. It takes a lot of skill to actually build up, and it's something that you're going to realize as you get better and better at programming. That oh yeah, this is actually really good. So let's go ahead and start coding. We have our new file today called Random Sinatra Project 2. I'm sure, as you remember from the last episode, I was working on a pirate project. Well, I changed the name to Random Sinatra Project 2, and this is, once again, for like another lesson. If you guys really like this content, please let me know. And yeah, if you do like it, eventually we'll work our way up to, hello. We'll work our way up to a actual Sinatra project. But today we're going to be talking about Ruby methods and functions. So it depends on what language you're using. If you're using Python, they would be called functions. I don't want to say they function because I'm trying to like not confuse you guys, but they generally do the same thing. For now, I want you to think of it like there are a couple things that go into Ruby methods that make them a little bit different from functions, but really when you get into like the nitty-gritty of it, I think for our sake, for our tutorial, we don't really need that. And actually, like when you're really coding Ruby applications, you'll see that there isn't really difference. What should we call our function today, or our method? Let's call this one our first function. So what does our first function do? I want this function to say hello Abdul, or okay fine, hello Abdul, because I promised that. Gosh guys, I promise I can spell. Okay, so now that we've defined our function, I guess we should probably look at the structure of it too. This would be the proper syntax for defining a function. You have the def and you have the end. You need them both, otherwise it's not going to work. And you can have multiple functions, and we'll get into that in a little bit. We gave it its output, or its action. What does it do? It puts hello Abdul, and then we ended it. So let's go ahead and run this at ruby test.rb. Let's see what happens. Absolutely nothing, because we forgot to call it. I was just testing you guys. This would be the next thing you do. You have to, once you define a function, it's not going to do anything unless if you call it. So let's try this again after calling it. There you go. It outputs hello Abdul. Now, you're probably wondering why would this be useful? Well, it comes in handy when you're writing long sequences of code, and right now this is a simple code. It's only 5 lines long, but when you get to code that's about, I don't know, 225 lines long, it's very hard to keep track of what everything does. And functions help us keep our code organized. They come in handy for scalability as well, and this is something, once again, you'll see if we continue down this series. Now that we have our function built, we can call it as much as we want, and it should still perform the same action. But this time, since we called it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, it's going to perform it 4 times. A function is generally just a bundle of code that you can call whenever you want to. Let's say that we want a function that adds 2 numbers together. Def add. I want to add the numbers 1 and 2. Let's go ahead and store that into a variable called sum. And if you have not checked out the video on variables, I highly recommend you check it out. We have sum is equal to 1 plus 2. Let's go ahead and call add and see what happens. This is our variable that adds 2 numbers together. It does nothing. Why? Because we didn't actually output the data, and that's something I should have realized. There you go, problem solved. It also helps to display the data. We display with puts. Don't forget, guys. There you go. So now that we've actually outputted our data, we can see that it's the sum of 1 plus 2 is 3, but you'll also notice that the first function that we actually built, the one up here, wasn't actually called. You don't see hello Abdul. And the reason is, once again, because we called the add function right here instead of calling the first function. Now if we want to call the first function, we can type it out right below it, and it'll give us the output of both hello Abdul and the actual sum. Now, what if we wanted something more dynamic? How do we do that? How do we build a function that is dynamic? Let's go ahead and add 2 numbers together, and once again, we're going to keep it dynamic, okay? Meaning that we're not actually going to hard code 1 and 2. How do you find the sum of 2 numbers? Okay, well, a sum is number 1 plus number 2, right? That's generally a sum. We also want to remember to actually output the data this time. I'm going to go ahead and beat you guys there, okay? Now, this is the general function for a sum, okay? We have number 1 plus number 2. And if we want to make this function dynamic, we have to be able to input our numbers. We need a way to do it. And how do we do it? We do it through these parentheses here. The statements that you see here, number 1, number 2, these are known as parameters. You can think of them as variables as well. So now that we have add, we have our two parameters, number 1 plus number 2, and we have the function that actually adds them together. So number 1, which is over here, number 2, which is over here, it equals to sum, which is going to output once again, the sum. Now, if we don't want to use the parameters, we can just call the add function where we hard-coded our numbers, and we will get a wrong number of arguments. Actually, since we're looking at this error right here, what Ruby actually does is it reads, if you have two functions named the same thing, and one has parameters and one doesn't, Ruby generally reads the last one actually written. And the last one that we have written is one with parameters. So let's go ahead and call this one add1, because this is our first one. Add-1, and then this one's going to be add-2. Okay, so let's go ahead and call add-1. What's going to happen here? It's going to output 3. Now, if we were to call add-2, what's going to happen here? We're going to get an error because we did not put in the right number of arguments. We've given the function 0, as you can see, but it's expecting 2, and it's expecting a num1 value and a num2 value. So we have to give it a num1 value and a num2 value. So let's go ahead and add 4 and 5. I don't exactly know what that's going to be. Luckily, we have a function to figure that out. Oh my gosh, it is 9. Wow, I'm glad we know it now. So what happened here was the value of 4 was set to number 1, and the value of 5 was set to number 2. The function itself added them together, and it outputted a 9, which is a sum. And that's generally how functions work. Let's see if there's anything else I'm leaving out here. I think I've been recording for about 11 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and call this video right now, just for the sake of keeping it short. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Please feel free to reach out to me. Please let me know if you guys really like this. If you let me know, we can decide what to do going forward, whether or not I need to make a methods part 2, or whether or not we're good to go here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, I guess I'll see you guys later.